everybody. I'm Hillary Atkin from the Atkin Report in Los Angeles, and I am delighted to welcome Sheila McCarthy from the feature film Women's Talking to this edition of Hillary's Happy Hour. Sheila, how are you doing?
I'm just great, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
I am very happy to have you. And this is an incredibly powerful film examining faith and forgiveness, centering on the women in an isolated Mennonite community that have been drugged and sexually assaulted, giving them a choice. But tell us more about it and how you came to co-star as Greta, one of the key characters.
Well, the original story is true, and it happened to a colony of Mennonite women in Bolivia in around 2005. And Miriam Taves, the novelist, wrote her novel Women Talking as a sort of act of female imagination, imagining what would happen if these women who have been systematically raped and drugged by men in the colony, 9 of whom are in prison right now, by the way. What if 9 of these women were able to sit in a hayloft for 2 days and decide the fate of these women, whether to stay and do nothing, stay and fight, or leave, escape the colony? So that's the ticking bomb of the ticking clock of the story. And so 8 of us are chosen to sit in the hayloft, three generations of women, and then August, our one token man, because the women don't read or write, to document and to write down everything we say. And so that we are voting for the first time, and we are deciding our fate, for the fate of every woman in the colony and some of the young boys as well, whether we'll stay or whether we'll leave. And so that's what the conversation is. I have known Sarah Polley for many years. We're both Canadians, and I've played her mom in a movie, and we did a series together. And when she approached me about this, it was a Zoom just between the two of us. And we spent over an hour talking about the role of Greta and going through the script with, a fine tooth comb. And she spoke so deeply and clearly about her vision for the film. And when I got off the Zoom, I thought, wow, I really hope I get this. I had to sort of go through the hoops for the studios and all that. But Sarah, she was very meticulous in her conversation with me. She thought maybe I was too young at first. And I said, oh, don't worry about that. The no makeup and the clothes will take care of that. And I got the part. So it was the most incredible experience, really, of my career.
Well, I really enjoyed seeing your character's emotional journey throughout the discussion. And I'd love to hear more about what you think about the dynamics of that conversation amongst the women on these incredibly emotionally laden topics of sexual assault and domestic violence.
Well, I think the artistry of the film that Sarah created was a conversation with the women in the hayloft, juxtaposed with tiny snippets of what happened to them. You don't need to see the whole thing. The film is about moving forward in the conversation and what are we going to do in the aftermath of the horror. And the women use their faith and their patience and their listening skills to try and convince each other of what they want to do. And I think for Greta, there's a wonderful wry humor to her. And, she has 2 horses named Ruth and Cheryl, and she loves to tell stories about Ruth and Cheryl to put her points across about what she wants to do as a result of what's happened to them. And I think it's really interesting to see the young girls, and then the sort of the children, and then the mothers, and then the elders coming to terms with what has happened to them and discussing what they can do in a really patient, well-measured, well-listened to way. And it's funny and it's heartbreaking. And I think we are using our voices for the very first time. And it's not easy to discuss these things. These women have never done that. When Sarah was working on the screenplay, she told us that a group of Mennonite women who she worked with closely said to her that the two things they wanted in the movie were laughter and physical contact. That when women are alone together, conversations are different, and we all know that as women. And it's also that the human contact and the laughter together. So although there's not a lot of it in the movie, I think it's a really important aspect of really how women do talk to each other and communicate.
Well, you had an almost all-female cast and crew, and some of your other cast members include Claire Foy, Frances McDormand, who also produced, Jesse Buckley, and Rooney Mara. So what was the production like?
Oh, well, first of all, when I first heard those names, I was, wow, this is fangirl time. I mean, these are people I've been watching on the big screen for years. And, on the very first day, there's Claire Foy, the queen, washing my feet. And I thought, wow, isn't showbiz crazy? So it took me a while to sort of, feel like one of the girls, one of the gals in the hayloft, working with such, idols of mine. And, Judith Ivey from New York, I've admired for so long. And really the opportunity to work with someone like Sarah Polley too was clearly why everybody joined this film. Everybody loves her and admires her, and she's just an incredible artist. So the production itself was, we were restricted with COVID, which kind of informed us as well, because we were masked up all through rehearsals, and so the repression of that fed into the repression of the women, and we were all in a big room offset together with our partitions. None of us went back to our trailers. We were a little bit like a jury. We were like, not 12 angry men, but we were 9 angry women. So that was that sort of fed the conversation and fed the film. The fact that we were all trying to be really good, not see people at night. Nobody came to the set. It was a very private, closed, shut down operation because of COVID, which is the world they live in. The parallel was striking to me.
And Sheila, what would you like audiences to take away from this film?
For me, the biggest takeaway of this film, because the subject is harrowing, the situations are sadly universal, and not just for women, for men, for boys, trans, like it's genderless, for, anybody who has been at any, has had any abuse in their lives, verbal, emotional, physical, whatever it is. It's about telling their story, even just to one person. And to me, what these women are doing in the hayloft is that they're sharing their stories for the very first time. And the takeaway for me is hope, is that if you can tell your story just to one person, isn't that an incredible thing? And isn't that a gateway to maybe change and recovery, survival, all of the above? So that's my takeaway. And I've had a lot of people come up to me who've seen the film, who have been at the end of abuse, and they've shared their stories with me, and this movie's affected them greatly. And although it is this funny little microcosm in a barn with women in funny Mennonite polyester dresses, the theme is universal. And it is having a profound effect, I think. And isn't that great,
It truly is. And Sheila, I want to thank you for telling your story to me, and to wrap up our happy hour by raising a toast to you and to the success of Women Talking.
Thank you.
Theaters December 23rd.
I wish I had something more potent, but it's just coffee. But thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.